Cool. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us in the December meeting, which December is always insane and crazy. Um, so we appreciate you taking the time to come to this important meeting. Um, I'm going to just start with some housekeeping as people are continuing to come in. This is a joint effort between Project WET, Project Learning Tree, and Project Wild. And we do work closely together. We meet monthly. And this has been one of those projects that's been a lot of work, a labor of love, if you will. And we're happy to be able to roll that out now. Um, so with that, just some housekeeping. First of all, if you guys don't mind changing your names to include the project that you're in and your state abbreviation, and if you would like to include any pronouns, we certainly encourage that. So for example, my name is Julia. Julia Beck, by the way, for not everybody that knows me. I am a co-executive director at Project WET, and we are headquartered in Montana, so that's where I am, and my pronouns are she and her. So if you don't know how to change your name, there's three little dots on your floating video head, and you click that and you go to rename. So please stay muted until you are either in breakouts and we're asked to unmute or something major, somebody needs to interrupt for some reason because like something's happening, but please stay muted and try to just use the chat instead. We certainly encourage the chat. We want all of you to talk to each other, to ask questions. We'll be monitoring that. This should be interactive as always. That's how we roll in the projects. And as I said, yeah, ask questions for sure. All right, so our agenda today is that we're just going to spend this next 25 to 30 minutes going over why why we're doing this, what the goals of this venture are, and acknowledging the team effort and who contributed and helped out. And then we'll go through the evaluation questions themselves. At that point, we really encourage you to ask questions in the chat. And then we'll break out by project after that. So at about half past, we'll break out by project and we'll explain how that works, but you'll get to choose. If you are somebody that works in multiple projects, you can choose and move around as needed. But again, we'll explain that when that time comes. Okay, so let's start with why did we develop universal evaluation questions? And the very simple answer to that is that you all asked us to. This came from you, it came from the coordinators, and especially those of you that work closely with your counterparts in the state or actually house multiple projects in your organization. You wanted to make reporting easier, and we understand that. But of course, it goes a little bit further than that. There are some broader goals around EE and how we're effectively rolling out these programs. Also, it's going to help us communicate across the three projects so we can better compare, apples to apples. Simplifying that evaluation for any joint workshops that you're doing so that you can report on the same thing to every project. We want to be able to use consistent data for grants and other data development efforts. I know that you all want that as well, and you will have that data. And then streamline coordinator efforts so that data collection is the same across the projects, as we're saying. So hopefully this will make everybody's lives easier. We always want to acknowledge that this is not something that we did by ourselves. This took a lot of work from a lot of different people. And so we convened an evaluation task force, if you will, and tried to think about states where people worked closely with their counterparts or either housed all three projects in the same organization. And so we worked with, you can see here how it's broken down, PLT, wet and wild coordinators. Some of these you might see multiple times because they are across multiple projects, but it took a lot of people and we really appreciate all the feedback we got and people's deep thought that they put into this. We took it very seriously and met on it and really went through every question and every comment. So thank you. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Beth Whitty with Project WET, and we're going to go through this joint evaluation form, and she will explain some of these questions that maybe aren't as intuitive or you're wondering about. And if you have questions as we're doing this, I will monitor the chat, so please put them in there and we can answer them as we go along.
Awesome. Excellent. Can everyone hear me okay? We're good. Let me know if you can't. So looking at the evaluation questions, I just want to remind everyone that this is a common bank of questions. The actual form and ways you collect this information will be different per program. So that is for the breakout rooms. We will talk about how you do this for your individual project. But for now, we're just going over the questions that this is our common bank of questions that we'll all be using. So we're going to start with just the contact information, date, name, preferred email, and or school or organization. Some of you have strong feelings about not getting that contact information on an evaluation form so that those people can stay anonymous. Some of you want to collect that information. There is a facilitator. Would you like to learn more about becoming a facilitator question at the end? So you may need that name. But that's your discretion. Those are the contact information is optional. The one thing up here that we do need is the workplace zip code. We want the workplace, not where the individual lives. And this helps us correlate to some federal data that is available that can tell us about the poverty in an area, the access to resources, kind of just gives us a better data location of where we're hosting workshops. So we do want the workplace where that person is, and their zip code. All right, so next we're going to do who are they professionally? Why are they coming to this workshop? So I am, check all that apply. They can check multiple. The only thing that might be different than how you've done this in the past is that we have broken up the college section into pre-service focused college, both faculty and student. So are you looking to become a future teacher? And then college, everyone else. So natural natural history programs, biology, sciences, those kinds of things, really anything else can go in the general college. So we just want to separate those people who are doing pre-service out of that question. And then the next question is, I serve the following audiences. Your formal teachers are probably going to go by grade level, but for anyone that's not a formal educator, maybe an after-school program or something like that, they might be more familiar with the students' ages. So we have listed both there. And if they have a cross, they can just select all that apply. And then have
Sorry,
they
Beth, I'm going
previous?
to interrupt you for a second. Are
Yep.
you guys not seeing this questionnaire?
No, we do. Or I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we can
There was
see
a
it.
question about sharing
It's a
it.
little small is part of
Oh,
the
can we
problem.
make it bigger?
Yeah, I can make
Like
it
the
bigger.
text bigger? Got it. Perfect.
That might be. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, and then the last question on this page is just, have I previously attended an event from any of the projects prior? Okay. Which subject do they plan to integrate the resources with? So we obviously know environmental education is our probably number one, but we're curious where else people are using the information that they're getting from the projects. Do some or all of the schools or programs, so this could be like an after-school program or something in the community, qualify for Title I funding? Another way to say that is, does the school provide free and reduced lunch? And then the last one is, what types of communities do you work with? We're trying to get a clearer picture of, are we talking about an urban area, rural, suburban, or rural? The federal, we use like federal criteria to say the number of people. Some people may not know the population of their exact city that they're working in. That's fine, make their best guess. We're just trying to get a better idea what communities people are serving.
Thanks. We had Joe, you asked why those were the responses to the prior question. Are you talking about the subject areas?
Yes, because
Okay.
that seems very much a formal ed structure
Mm. Yes.
versus more inclusive to include non-formal and informal.
Yeah, that's a great point. Beth, do you want to answer?
Yeah, so it might like which another way to say it for a formal teacher that they're going to relate to is like which subject do you teach? Um,
Right.
but there are some after school programs that might be STEM or community museums, those kinds of things that might also have a cross content piece. If they feel like it doesn't apply, I mean, we could put an NA on here and just do not applicable. Um,
Which
could be an
what
option.
what topics or what subjects do you bring into your teaching would be more inclusive?
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'm just going, this feels like I'm teaching this versus, yeah, I use scientific information, I use mathematics, I use language arts to teach. I'm not sure what the use of the question is for the projects, and then that use may define which approach you would take. I
And
don't
I
know if that
think
Yeah.
makes,
it's a more formal educator question um, that is optional. Like not everybody has to answer it.
or just add a non-formal or informal setting.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think from a formal perspective, we are looking for like, are we
Yep,
collaborating across
yep,
content? Versus, like you said,
makes
others
sense.
that
So
might
thank
not.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you.
yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Okay, now we have professional development questions. So this is their feedback about the actual workshop. There are 9 questions in here, and they're all a Likert scale from completely disagree to completely agree. You'll notice that some of them have not applicable NA and some of them do not. We've really gone through and kind of said like, yes, maybe this one apply to some people. And the ones we left it off on, we're really hoping that people will have some comment about. So the first one is I increased my knowledge around the topics discussed. The next one is as a result of this event, I have gained skills that will enhance my educational practices. This one is one with an NA, like they may not be thinking of an educational use for their information at all. So that would be an example where NA could apply. As a result of this event, I feel prepared to use these resources with my audiences. I feel more confident in incorporating some or all of these topics into my teaching or training as a result of this event. After this event, I plan to use some or all of the resources I share with my audiences within the next 6 months. So this is getting at, we're glad you got something out of the training. Are you going to use it? How quickly are you going to implement it? I am confident my audiences will learn from the activities. Um, as I that I implement as a result of this event. As a result of this event, I intend to be more conscientious about my individual role. So this is them self-reflecting. What have I learned about the environment conservation that applies to me personally? I would recommend this professional development event to a colleague. And then finally, my facilitator was well prepared and engaging. So those are the questions that just give us a Likert scale answer of their feelings about those. The last 2 questions are more reflective and written. So how will you change your instructional practices as a result of the workshop? And then any other comments. So they can spend a little time writing here. Those are the only 2 questions on the form that they actually have to write out an answer. So it should be a quick evaluation form. Everything else is just like check the box. Um, the last one on here is, are you interested in becoming an official facilitator? We have defined facilitator on there because there are different programs where that word is used differently. So we're just telling people what a facilitator is or does. And then the final page is demographic information for them. So I identify as, and then how their students identify. Again, these are federal categories, and they do not need to answer these if they do not feel comfortable. So those are optional, which is why they are the last questions on the form. If they choose not to do that, they can just skip that. All right, so that is the form. I'm just scanning the chat a little bit, but does anyone have any questions? Well, we're just questions on the questions. We're going to have a whole section on the process, but will there be a digital version of this? So it depends on your project. So for Project What, the answer is yes, we do have a digital version, and then the other projects have their own way of collecting the information, which they'll talk about in the breakout session.
Yeah, well, we'll go through all of this, how you collect the data in the breakout session. This also I put together into this format. This is not necessarily the format that everybody might have. We can talk about that among the projects, but you're welcome to take this and hand it out. But yeah, we just wanted to go through the questions. The formatting and data collection part and how you do it, we're going to talk about in the breakouts. I did see a question, will there be a combined waiver photo release as well? That is a great question. We can put that on the discussion for 2026. I know we all have our own because we've consulted our own attorneys and in terms of how that's done. So that might be something we need to talk further about.
That's a great idea, though.
I don't see any other questions. I do want to make one comment though, which I'm surprised nobody asked about, because we've gotten questions before, is about this types of communities you work with. Urban centers, suburban, and rural. This is basically taken from census definitions. The US Census defines urban centers as at least 5,000 people in an area, right? And 2,000 housing units, there's a whole bunch of things. But then they don't really break it out into urban metropolitan area except for federal funding. And so that's where that gets to. Like they define that an area that needs federal funding for an urban area is at least 50,000 people. So we put that in. We really are trying to get at, are you talking about like a Bozeman, Montana area, or like, you know, an urban area that's small, or are you talking about New York City or LA or Denver, you know? So that's more of what we're trying to get at. So I'm happy to discuss more of that, but that's where that data came from, those definitions. This is, sorry, this one, I didn't put it there, but it is a check all that apply. I guess we should put that there because yes, it can be wherever they're working.
Just
Okay.
looking through the lens of this question specifically, from a state where we don't have a ton of urban areas, including the word metropolitan, I think will confuse people in my state and be like, well, it's Fargo, North Dakota. We're urban, but we're not really metropolitan. So I appreciate the population limits. I think that'll help. But yeah, the metropolitan, I was like, are we? What does that even mean?
I think most states have a metropolitan area. I know North Dakota is, and Montana are exceptions. But yeah. So hopefully that'll help define that. All right, so I'm going to, again, you'll be able to ask more questions in these breakout rooms. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mary with PLT to talk about how that is going to work.
Great. Thanks, Julia. And thank you everybody for being here. You are going to get a chance to select a breakout room. So we are going to allow you to choose which room you want to go to. And if you want to jump between the three different breakout rooms, you can. So you should move to the one that you want to find out most about first if you're in multiple projects, and then go from there. This is being recorded. We will send the recording from all of the breakout rooms as well as this main room, along with the slides and all the information that we're sharing in a follow-up email. So that'll come from your national office. And like it says there, all rooms are being recorded. So any questions before we go? And Beth, let's see. Hello, how are you all?
Good.
Hello.
How are you, Mary?
I'm great. I'm doing great. I'm actually good. How's everyone's Thanksgiving? Good? Good?
Good. Yep.
All right. I am gonna wait like a couple more seconds to make sure everybody has joined a room because it looks like people are still joining. I'm actually very excited about this. I joined halfway through the year and got to see all the work that they've been doing. So this is really cool and that it will be really cool. All right, let me see if everyone's joined here. A few more. All right. So for this breakout room, we're going to do a couple of different things. We're going to talk about the new participant survey and how it relates to the quarterly reporting. We'll review some of some of the other surveys that are coming out, the P&E, so the priorities and expertise, the annual survey, and just answer questions. So it's kind of casual, but I do have some information for you to look at as we go through that as I'm talking. So if you're a visual person, that might help you. But please stop me whenever you want me to answer questions. And let's see. Lala is here to support some of the Salesforce questions that we have as well.
Excuse me. Hi, guys. Sorry, I'm not on camera because it breaks my computer.
And I can attest to that. All right. So yeah, so this is welcome to our breakout room. Let's see. All right. So the participant survey. So what we just saw Julia and Julia present is being transferred to the Salesforce platform. So we have started to align those questions, the new questions with the old questions. That's going to be available in early 2026. So we're still working on that update and those uploads and getting everything aligned. What is going to be available to you in Coordinator's Corner is that PDF. So if you want to download that PDF, we'll have a PDF available for you. We have an updated cover sheet that reflects all the changes so that if you use the paper format, you'll have that. We'll also have an example online template. So if you want to use that template, I know when I was in Maryland, I used the template that the national team gave me and continue to use that until I left. So if you want to use that, you can use that. Or if you have your own, you can do that too. So Leanne, hopefully that answers your question from the main room that if you have your own, you can incorporate those questions into your own. But it'll help you with the quarterly reporting if everything's aligned. Any questions there? I mean, that's the basic what's happening. So any questions about the participant survey and the quarterly reporting that you'll be doing? Radio silence. Go ahead, Leanne.
I'm going to stir the pot a little bit.
Yep.
We have spent a lot of time redoing our survey, and we try to keep our survey the same for as long as possible so that we can have comparable data over time. What this is going to do is force us to change our survey and therefore starting over comparable data. I know that there's not a question here. I just wanted to share that is going to mess us up a bit. And I'm resistant.
Okay, that's fine. Lola, can you talk a little bit about what we've been doing about aligning and finding the alignments within the current quarterly report?
Sure. So basically same with us, Leanne. Like, because we have been doing it the historical way, to be honest, like it's been a bit of an uptick for us to try and like to incorporate these changes at the national level as well. What we are doing in Salesforce specifically is trying to take the questions that we already have and incorporate the net new questions without really like with changing as little as possible with the questions that are already there. So a lot of the questions that we have right now, it's actually, or sorry, a lot of the questions on this survey, if they are not net new, all that is changing is copy. The actual point of the question isn't really changing that much, Leanne. Like, with the exception of like, a brand new question, which would be net new data anyway. So I think as we go into this new 2026 path, you'll see that the friction may not be as big as you were expecting. And I'm hoping that too. And I've already been in it, doing it on the national end, if that makes sense, Leanne.
I'm also wondering if I didn't see Joe pop into this session, because Joe might be able to speak to how other projects and like he's worked on where you have long-term data and questions have kind of changed a little bit, but how that might affect that long-term data. He might be able to speak a little bit to that and address some of those concerns too, Leanne.
And Joe is in here.
Oh, he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I finally got a link. Leanne, there are some statistical approaches. It's ugly, it's messy, it's not clean, but we can do it. If you'd like to talk through some, I'd be happy to, but you probably know what I know is, yes, you can make some alignments. They aren't pure, they aren't great, but what you can do is you can intentionally overlap two different measures for a limited amount of time, where one group, part of a group gets one, the other part gets another. So at several workshops, you would have both. Then you can compare. And then you can make claims to the prior data, even if you can't make true alignment to the data. Does that make sense? That's probably the better way I know of doing it, is to do that overlap. It's the cleanest without getting into statistical hell.
And Tony,
Sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. Who said sorry?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, it wasn't better.
Oh, yeah.
A happier response.
Yeah. And Tony's question, yeah, Tony, yes, so our plan at PLT National is to have the Q1 survey. Sorry, I have a lot of words in my head right now. The Q1 survey ready early in the year. So by the time you're reporting in April, it should be up, but we're hoping to have it up a little bit earlier than that. So we will start using, you can start using the new survey in January. We'll have that available to you by the end of December, if not before then. Calendar year, yes, not fiscal. Oh, calendar year versus fiscal year ideas. Leanne, can you expand on that?
Sure. Most of our reporting as a program is done during the fiscal year. So from the beginning of July to the end of June. And so it's asking us to shift our evaluation process in the middle of the year, which then brings us to statistical hell again.
Gotcha. Okay. I will bring this to the team. I don't have an answer for you. But yes, I understand what you're saying because our reporting in Maryland when I was there was a fiscal from July to July. So yeah. Yeah. Is this form the final version? It is the final version for right now. If there are small tweaks in copy and things like that, yes, we can make those, but this is the final version. And then we'll talk with the team later in the year to make other adjustments. Are you seeing major, unless there's a major red flag that you're seeing, other than the one of the fiscal year, what are you seeing, Renee?
Oh, just like even here, we were just talking about, adding like the select all, for what areas do you work with, things like that.
That
Because
those can be changed, yeah.
Yeah, because I also have created like my own online version just because that works for most of the, so I'm gonna have to recreate all that and it's gonna take time. And I've got my first workshop on January 8th. So
Gotcha. I would say if you are using that, we are not going to have. There's no good answer here. There is no good answer. Yeah. January is, yes, I agree. The 6 months. Yeah. Let me take all these comments back to the team. Like I said, they've been working on this for some time, so I'm not sure. I'm sure they're getting the same comments in the other rooms. So yeah, just keep adding those comments. I can't answer all of them right now. So let me take those back and figure out if 6 months to change it is a good time. Yeah, let me get answers for you. Yep. Leanne, did you have a question? You came off mute.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the workshops that we do since we have one survey and we're only going to have one survey for all of our workshops. We do have those workshops that are not PLT, not wild, and not wet, that will have these questions as well. And I'm just curious about, it doesn't impact PLT or wet or wild, but it may impact the desire of the educators to fill out the form.
Yeah. What can you give an example of the other workshops that you have that
Sure, nature journaling
then
doesn't
okay.
incorporate, yeah.
Okay.
Or yeah, we have conferences that we set up that may not be
Gotcha.
specifically to any of the projects.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Let me take all these questions, keep asking them, and I will get you answers. Okay.
Hey, Mary,
Yep.
I have one more question for you.
Mhm.
It's Kaylee from Tennessee.
Hey.
So the form that I just want to make sure I'm on the same page as everybody, but the form that the ladies just went over for the triple project is going to be for PLT as well. So that is exactly what we're going to see for PLT survey starting in January.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Beth, for dropping that. Yeah. So that is what we are working on at PLT to transfer into the Salesforce system to align those questions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and you said this we're gonna have access to this in January.
Hoping it before January. So I am in the process of revising it. So Salesforce, yes, that is for your quarterly report. However, the participant survey will have a PLT version similar to what is shared in that link that's available on Coordinator's Corner, along with a digital version that you can use.
Ooh, digital. Okay.
Yeah. So that you can I will upload all those questions into a digital version and you can use that as is. And the issue is the coordinators who are already using digital versions of their own. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. That must be tough, guys. I'm sorry.
it is. And I apologize that I'm the bearer of this news. So bear with me as I get you answers. Any other questions about this survey? All right, I'm going to go on to some other information about other surveys that are coming out for Project Learning Tree only. So we have the priorities and expertise survey. That is, we have a new format in the Coordinator's Corner PLT reporting platform. So we're working on that now. And that is going to be available to you. We're going to release it in December. So we're finalizing just little glitches and things that we're working through. And it'll be due at the end of January 2026. Before, this was a separate survey link that was sent to you as a coordinator. You filled it out. And National downloaded the information. It's going to be available in Salesforce now. So you'll get you'll just log into your portal. It'll kind of look like this. You'll have different options for your quarterly, your P&E, the annual. So we have 2025 that we'll have, and then the 2026 will be added as a new tab. So this is a view of what we're working on now. So that's going to be available to you soon, and you'll get an email on that. The other ones, quarterly reporting. So I do want to thank all of you for submitting your quarterly report. I joined in July and was catching up on a full year of quarterly reporting, and I so appreciate Peony. Thank you, Leanne, for making me laugh. I love peonies too. But I do appreciate you all responding to my emails, asking you, if you had turned the quarterly reports in, and we were transferring all the data from the old system to the new system. So it's been a little bit cumbersome. And I do appreciate all of you responding to my emails. So thank you. If you are still having questions about how to do the quarterly reporting, we're here to support you. The Salesforce email and password might have gotten lost. But I'm going to email with the follow-up email, the recorded webinar link from early of 2025. I think Shuya and Kate did that, as well as the presentation. And then we just wanted to highlight a few things that we're seeing. So editing an existing quarter. So if your quarters and your dates aren't lining up, make sure that you're looking at the quarter that you want to edit and in the existing section. So you want to make sure that that's checked, press next, and then add your workshop for the existing quarter. And then same with adding a new quarter. You want to make sure that everything is unchecked. So we've seen a lot of people adding September in January because something was checked. So make sure that these boxes are unchecked and then you press next. So it's just making sure in that Salesforce thing that in this Salesforce format that you're checking the right box. And I can tell you that I did this wrong in Maryland. So when I got to national, I saw how messed up my report actually was, and I had to fix that. So I am guilty of this as well. So it was interesting to see my reports from Maryland on the back end and what I had done wrong. And I'm just pointing this out because I was doing this. If you have nothing to report, there were a few of you who had nothing to report. We have a new box. So there is a check mark here, nothing to report. You can press next for that quarter and you're done. Doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to you and not going to follow up with you. It just gives us a little bit more information and a little bit more. It's quicker information, and I don't have to ask you and you don't have to respond. Hey, I have nothing to report. I can just email you to say hello.
I am going to double down on that. This
Yeah.
is going to be great because you probably, well, a lot of you who were here when I was doing it remember me like chasing up a million, bajillion, jajillion, quadrillion, bazillion times, being like, "Has your report in?" Now every quarter, if you have nothing, you just check the box and you're like, now I can just get hello happy emails from everyone
Yes.
except for, and not the
Yes.
emails being like, hey, remember me? Hey, poke, poke,
Yeah.
poke.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask that everybody, if you do have nothing to report, and I think, you know what, if Chip's on this call, Chip does a really good job of saying he has nothing to report when he does. I'm going to ask everybody to report nothing. So you're always reporting every quarter. Even if it's
Yeah.
nothing, you're just checking nothing.
Exactly. And some of you were asking about where to put the challenges and constraints and the highlights. If you had nothing to report, there is a box here now, so you can add that in for that quarter and press nothing to report. And then we know what's happening in your neck of the woods. So
Yep. And make sure when you click that nothing report, you hit next. The next button is actually
yeah,
like the save button. So when
yes,
you hit next, it's recording that information for you. So you don't have to be like, oh, did I do it? If you hit next, it's recorded.
yeah. Because I want to contact you all on happy notes, not tracking you down. And then the last thing is annual reporting survey. So that's going to be released in January of 2026 with a deadline of, oh, I forgot to change that. That's March 2026. It's not 2 weeks to do that. So it's March of 2026. You will have 3 months to do that. So I forgot to change that, but we'll end the follow-up. And that is all going to be in the annual reporting or that PLT for the platform. Sorry, words today. All right, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and did want to tell you that we are working on fixing Coordinator's Corner. Ella, the intern, and I have been transferring documents to a SharePoint site. We've worked with our IT team and we are trying to fix that constant looping issue and have something easy and accessible for you to do, as well as the shop. Leslie and I had a nice conversation yesterday. And Molly, you got your wish because Leslie gave me her magic wand yesterday virtually. So we are working on that. We have a new shop format coming up as well that we've been working on. So all your frustrations, I understand because I was there before July. So we're working on getting that done. So yeah. And let me see. I see let's see, Beth, what the heck happened? We ended up purchasing double the trees and me. We needed, oh, did they get shipped?
They did, but I'll just end up using
Okay.
them anyway.
Yeah.
Just didn't expect to spend that much money at one time, but I'm lucky I have the money.
Yes. Yeah. And we totally would have fixed that. So Leslie contacts me and says, hey, Mary, what's up with this? So if something happens, please contact us so that I know, so that I can flag it and get it fixed, and help you do that. And Renee, you know too, you are my BFF with boxes. We are we're working on that too. So just yeah, email me. You know how to reach me. I love to hear from you. Yeah, never feel awkward about doing that. So I'm here for you. So I was in your shoes, so I know how you feel. Um, let's see. John, how did I see your email? Oh yeah, that's totally fine, John. If you, I will make note that you are still waiting for facilitators. It's just me trying to keep track of my documents. So I'll make a note in my spreadsheet that you're still waiting and I won't keep bothering you. Yeah, and that's fine. It's just my process of elimination. So Is there a space to capture presentations, sessions at conferences? In which report, Molly?
In the quarterly report.
I would put that in the highlights, maybe. Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
feel like it reaches
There used to
people with
be.
TLT,
Yeah.
and I definitely do more of those than workshops in my state.
Right.
So I feel like I want to capture that information. There's X amount of people getting introduced
Right.
to Project Learning Tree or to a particular resource from Project Learning Tree.
What I normally do is the duration would just be like, I think 2 hours is maybe the least one that we can do. Less than 1 hour even.
Yeah, you can do
Like
less
how
than
long
1
was
hour.
the session, and then the workshop description, you could put that info there too.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great. Oh, Emily, you said you still have to do quarterly. It's totally fine.
Yeah. I'm
It-
waiting on some stuff from facilitators that did
Totally
them
fine.
in late November. So
So if you get an email from me, I would be completely honest with you. I have a spreadsheet, I have a to-do list. I need to make sure that I talk to you just like you all do. I need to make, you have that to-do list, you have that spreadsheet. So don't worry. I won't fly to your house and knock on your door and ask you for the report. So yeah, it's just me trying to keep track of everything in some way. You can fly to my house, I will. I'll take the train to your house, Leslie. Yeah, that's true. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, John. So I'm in Baltimore and I live where all the salt is put off the ships, the road salt, and there have been trucks all day picking up salt. So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The entire city's going to shut down. Who knows? Beth, good question. Is the priorities and expertise survey open? No, it is not open yet. So we were making the final adjustments this morning. It is going to open soon. So hopefully in the next week. But you'll get an announcement saying, hey, it's open. Please fill it out. Yeah. Yeah. So that's been cleaned up and put into Salesforce for you. What
What
other
is the
questions?
priorities and expertise survey?
That
I
is
feel like I missed something.
that's for us, for you to fill out saying, hey, this is my priority in my state and region, and this is my expertise. So that survey, the P&E, I'm gonna keep laughing.
You guys, when we are here saying priorities and expertise survey, when you're trying to like do a million track changes, is so hard. So we just started saying P&E, and I
P&E.
never heard P&E until
I
just
know.
now.
I'm just gonna start doing, yeah. Like
Now
It's
you will
just
never
way
not
easier
hear.
to say than priorities and expertise a million times.
Yes. So that helps National to understand what you need. So that would be a cool graphic. So Renee, when you're filling it out, just be honest and let us know what you think you're an expert at and what your priorities are for the next year. No worries. Yeah. Perfect. We're gonna add that. When you get the email, that's what you'll get, is that little GIF or GIF, however you say it. That little, is it GIF or GIF? What's the consensus here?
yes.
GIF, yeah. It's a graphic imaging. Yes, like peanut butter. Yes. How are you feeling about the surveys? I have this all recorded. I'm going to share it with the other projects. But in general, you're feeling okay. I see a lot of frowny faces. I see some skeptical faces. It's all good.
I just wanted to be sure I understood, and maybe I'm a little bit behind the times, but the universal participant survey, you'll give us the questions and then we're supposed to integrate those however we choose. And then we'll build a survey that will collect that data that we will own. We'll use that data to fulfill the reporting obligations of all 3 of the projects, correct?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. So you can still use your own survey, Leanne, and I can send out an alignment, the alignments that we've been using, saying this is what matches this, if that helps. It's just when you're uploading to the quarterly report, it's easier if you have that alignment, but you can definitely still use your own survey. And I would. I mean, when I was in Maryland, I had like 50 different questions that were different and then aligned them to the quarterly report because I had to ask different stuff for the Green Schools program and all that stuff. But
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And if you want to chat about it, let's chat. If we can work through it. I am now very familiar with all of the changes that Kate downloaded in her last week from her brain. So I've got most of them, but I definitely will go to the team and talk about your concerns about a 6-month rollover, transition and see what happens and talk to Lola when she gets back from her break. She's here now, but she's rolling out soon about all those transitions in the IT team. So yeah, I hear you. I do.
Mary, going back to your question about like, how are people feeling? I mean, a lot of the questions are like really similar. They're not word for word. There are definitely some that I'm like, I'm not a fan of that have been added or just the way that they're worded. But I know that some of that's personal preference, the question, I feel more confident in incorporating some or all of the topics into my teaching or training. I could see that one kind of being like someone that's a non-formal educator that might be one that they'd be like, what? Or like, I don't think of workshops, as being topic-based necessarily, but others are. And then the one that talks about more conscientious about my individual role in my environmental conservation practices. That one really raises a pretty big red flag for me because that's not something that we're specifically addressing in most of our PLT workshops. When we talk about environmental conservation practices specifically, and the fact that that one doesn't have a not applicable, we do things in our workshop, but we're not speaking or teaching to that directly. So I could see that being one that's going to be getting a lot of neutrals or
Right.
disagree or completely disagree. And which is fine. That's again, I know that is not something that we're specifically doing and trying to do with most of our PLT workshops. But I'm not a big fan of that question.
Gotcha. And that was
as a result of this event,
I feel,
more conscientious.
Yeah.
It's also just worded really strongly, kind of like, you must come away with this type.
Right. I would say if you can reword it for your survey that gets a similar one, or even we can put an NA in there. So I will ask the question. Yes, I see. Yeah, what you're saying. It's sending a message.
Yeah, and I support Renee on that one. That's an all or nothing, and we know behavior is not all or nothing.
Right.
And so, if it's making me think differently, I'm not changing my behavior, but I may be moving toward it. So I think it's sort of a all or nothing question, and it feels a little harsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if that's not an objective of the workshop.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. I will take that to them and see what they say about that and see if we can tone it down a bit and ask them to look at it. Yeah.
Or do it Renee suggested, given not an NA.
An NA, yeah, yeah. So I think I'm not sure why some of these have NAs and some of them don't. So I will ask about that as well and get you answers. Yeah.
And if you can do the NA, Mary, can you put it in the PDF? Because I can't edit a PDF at my job.
Yes. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I had made a comment about sending it in multiple formats so that we could edit it if
Yes.
needed.
Yeah, I have to get this file. This was done by Julia, so I don't even have the original file yet. So I will get that.
I also, why did they move from the like a Likert scale? Because that's like really easy, like when you're doing evaluation to be like, we had like this change or like, I don't know. It's just it's a little bit easier, I think, with like numbers and stuff.
Would it be helpful if we did completely disagree 5 or if 1 disagree 2 neutral 3 if you changed it for I mean it's about the same or no? Joe's like no.
What, you're playing around with
Yeah.
instrumentation that
Yeah.
you're not defining thoroughly or
Right.
correctly.
Mm-hmm.
This is a rank item scale. It doesn't matter if it's numbers or words. Each rank means something different
Mm-hmm.
versus a Likert, which is a linear scale, which has 1 point on it that describes a distribution. And there's a whole different way you build it statistically and structurally. But in this one, it's capped. So give them a 1 to 5. It's the same as completely disagree to completely agree. So I'd say,
Right.
numbers are easier to manipulate and people are more familiar with the words,
Mm-hmm.
but give them the key that these numbers tie to these words.
Right. So you're saying yes, like completely disagree would be a 1
Mm.
and completely agree would be a 5.
And so if you average at a 3, you say, they're neutral in
Mhm.
this response.
Yeah. How do you feel about the states leaving out questions intentionally? I, j- I, I used to in Maryland. Um, but yeah, if there's something that's gonna cause a problem, Leanne, then you probably just would put when you're doing that quarterly report, just put NA. Nobody answered it. So yeah. Yeah. These do help us with reporting and they're aligned with the 3 other projects. So some of those questions are in the 3 other projects. But yeah, and Liam, we can have a talk about that too if you want to figure that out and see how it goes. But yeah, 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 I would say no, Leanne, you're not stirring the pot. Well, maybe you are. You like to. I think you're all giving me questions that I'm not sure how to answer yet. It's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, complete honesty, some of the questions I left out in Maryland because it didn't fit with the audience that I was in. So, and I would just put NA in the quarterly report because it wasn't appropriate to ask those questions in that workshop. So, yeah. Yeah. Any other questions? Let's see. There are classroom tuitions. Right. And we actually talked about that whole non-formal formal comparison. So yeah. And I think that was brought up right before the meeting. So Beth, I agree with you. So it was one of the questions that we listed that might come up. Yeah.
Just quickly, I'm curious if and some people have talked about final form. It seems like this is the first time most coordinators are seeing this.
Mhm.
And is this intended to be, taken back to revise? Is there going to be a revision based on all these comments and suggestions and thoughts? I mean, I understand like everybody's got opinions and stuff, but there's definitely, I agree with Renee. I think it's super inappropriate to guess what the student's identity is. Um, so
Yeah.
I I understand that. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering if this is still a working draft.
As of 3 p.m., it was not,
Okay.
because there was a focus group that did give opinions on it.
Okay.
As of 4:06 p.m., I will take it back to the rest of the group and see what their reactions were. So, yeah, yeah. I know that they had been working on this before I came to National, and had a working group. But yeah, yeah, I see what you're, yeah, yeah, yeah. So let me take that back and get you some answers.
Thank you, Mary, our new leader.
Uh,
Whether or not you signed up for that.
yeah. I don't know. I'm leading this webinar today.
Well, thank you for all your work in all your capacity.
Yeah, you're welcome. I thank you all too. And thank you for your tough questions. I do appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't give you definite answers. I'm answering to other people right now too, so Title I and zip code we can get, yes. Yeah, and I believe on the PLT survey we asked for Title I and zip code, but we never asked for identification of students. Right? Yeah, because I just looked at yeah. So yeah, let me get you an answer on that one. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, that is a great point. That zip code piece is going away, and that was something that was being collected previously.
Right. And I think it's still up there. It is still it's a workplace zip code, but it's not a workshop zip code. Because I think it was a workshop zip code. I remember yeah, because yes, it's a workshop's zip code and then the Title I in the quarter. Yeah. And that would give us demographic data without making assumptions of the general area anyway. Yeah, let me ask those questions. Yeah. Fortunately, we've recorded and there's an AI download that I will eventually get. But I'll listen to the recording again and write those questions out for the team. All right. I'm not sure what time we end today. 4? I don't even know. Isn't that sad? Yeah, but we can stay on and chat too. It's up to you.
It does say 4:30 in the calendar invite.
Oh, it does? Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So
are
we
we
have a
supposed to
full
all come
hour.
back together or?
No, nope. We can end. It is a full hour. I thought we were on an hour, but I guess we started at 3 and then we had a full hour.
And they did say once you're like finished, then
yes,
people get time back. So
yeah,
I
so
know that's precious for lots of people, myself included.
yes, yeah. So if we have no other questions, we can disband, or we can just sit here and you can ask me more grilling questions that I need to get answers for. Tony, was that funny? I'm still learning with all of you.
Yes.
Hey, Mary, can you tell us why manhole covers are round?
Manhole covers are round. Wait, is this a joke or is this actually?
No, legitimate question.
Because the body can go into a round hole and not a square hole? No, why?
Anybody else? I actually got asked this on a job interview.
So the lid doesn't fall in?
Exactly.
Emily, how do you know that?
I have no idea why I know that.
That makes
But that
sense.
is the correct answer.
Yeah, what job did you interview for,
That's
Rob?
when I was working for the Department of Environmental Quality.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
It's probably
I've
wet,
never
but
I've never worked for an environmental department of quality before, so I don't know why I know that.
That's pretty impressive. I'm gonna ask that question to
I
everyone
didn't know
meet.
the answer, but they still hired me.
Will y'all explain the answer? So it doesn't fall in, but I don't understand.
A round circle lid can't fit in a hole. If it was square and you turned it at an angle, it would fit in. See, look at what Leanne's doing there with her cup.
Let me find Leanne. Hold on.
So the lid fits on, but it won't go in the hole.
Right.
But if you have a square, okay, here we go. Find my camera. If you got a
And
square
Tony has
hole
a
and the
has
square
an
lid,
illustration.
there you go, Tony. At an
It's the
angle.
diameter. It
Yeah.
can't be manipulated through.
Right.
There you go.
What does
The
Leanne have
things
in
you
that
learn.
cup? Mind's blown.
Oh, if you only knew. It looks like water.
Renee, have fun at trivia tonight. Um, thank you for asking all of your questions. I will get you answers at some point once they give me answers. Hang in there with
Thanks.
me, and I will talk to you all soon. Come by office hours if you want to chat. I'll be
Thanks,
there.
Mary.
All right. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye,
Mary.
all.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll jump in unless you want to, Kathleen, but
Yeah, no, go ahead.
okay.
It's a lot to digest at once. So
Yeah. So we don't have all the answers, but we've been putting a lot of thought into this surprisingly complex collaboration of how we collect data and how we're going to make it fit with wet and wild. And when we have workshops that are more than one program, in many ways, our system is staying the same. One key difference is we now have a set of items that we're asking you all to make sure get onto the workshop evaluation forms. And those are those items that we looked at earlier. So you'll get those items, and however you collect data in your workshops in your state, your Project Wild workshops, we're asking that those items get included. You can include additional ones. You can include state-specific ones, but please include those. That's one of the key points. How you collect the data. You can use the same method you've been using. Most people use an electronic, digital survey, like a form, a Microsoft form or a Google form or some other kind of survey form that educators can complete on their phone. You can also use paper ones. There has been the idea, the suggestion that we at the national office at OFWA, that we provide a template for that, and we're happy to do that, and we will do that. We'll put those questions into a Google form, we'll put them into a Microsoft form, and we'll make those available, and you can use those. You can copy the form, share it to your facilitators, you can collect the data that way. And this data will, of course, also be used by you, not just in your ongoing monitoring and assessment and improving of your state Project Wild programs, but as you report data back to us once a year, this kind of data will be helpful. And so we're trying to simplify the Project Wild annual reporting form. And part of that is linking directly to some of these items on this form. We know we have a lot of questions on the Project Wild spreadsheet that we ask you to complete. Where we can, we may remove some, or we may pull them out into a different data collection tool that maybe we don't have to do at the end of the year. Maybe we don't have to do it every year, but some of the items that are less essential, we're looking at ways to make it easier. And I went to also speak a bit about some of the evaluation items and how we might have an opportunity at the national office to use some of that data in a way that we haven't before, around the educators' satisfaction levels. But before I get into that, I just want to cover the nuts and bolts and see if there's any questions. And Kathleen, if there's any major nuts or bolts that you're thinking of that I haven't mentioned, feel free to chime in.
Sure, yeah. So one question I have is, how are you doing it right now? Like, do you have a Google form? Do you use an MS form? Are you just using paper? If you could put in the chat real quick how you're currently doing it after a workshop, what's your standard method? That would really be helpful to kind of get a baseline of how you're functioning now, and then how this can kind of slide into what you're doing. I know a lot of the questions are very kind of general, and maybe you have similar questions like this already on your form. And so maybe, we're kind of duplicating a few that you already have. But yeah, if you could put it in the chat, just what you are doing, that would help me, and I'll take notes and collaborate it all. So thanks, Mark.
Okay, I'm going to pause a minute while people type.
Kathleen, I'm driving in the car. Can I just tell you what we do in Georgia?
Yes, tell me, Kim.
Okay, we have paper copies that we do because I have people who sometimes do workshops where there is no internet service. So if we let them leave and try to go online and capture them after the workshop, we don't get the feedback. So we kind of use the evaluation as a ticket out the door that they fill out, and they get their certificate as a result. And we've had really good evaluation. We tend to get we get all the evaluations back as a result of that. And it's built into the workshop time. The last 15 minutes is filling those out. And then I pull the information I need, but I keep the copies. I'll scan them and then keep them as a PDF if I need to. But that way I can actually capture it. Because when we just send a link afterwards, I'm lucky if I get out of a group of 10, maybe 2 or 3 will respond.
And Kim, this is Mark. Do you only use paper copies, or do you use the combination of paper and electronic?
Primarily paper copies. And so when I do joint things with PLT and WET, we've already created some joint evaluations that we'll use. And one of us will collect it all, and then either we'll enter all the data or we'll just make a PDF and share it. Everybody enters their data the way they want to. Usually if we do survey type of stuff where we're looking for information from our people, we'll do electronically, but right now at workshops, everybody does a paper copy, and that's part of the packet they turn back into me electronically, the PDF. Plus it helps me figure out who my facilitator of the year should be.
I saw that someone, Kaylee put in SurveyMonkey. I know WET is talking about using another forum, and everybody's talking about different things. And I'm just curious if SurveyMonkey or something outside of, Google and MS would be a viable option that then everyone could get to. Because I know some people don't have access to Google, or some don't have access to Microsoft Forms. So just something to think about. I'm going to definitely write that down. So thank you.
Sadly, SurveyMonkey used to have a decent free option, and it's quite expensive now. We still have it, we still use it, but it only allows for 2 accounts to use it at once unless you pay for a much higher option. And it's tied to your computer code, like your server number. So when I'm at home, if I have been in the office and use SurveyMonkey, I have to reach out to my boss and we kick him out. So yeah, SurveyMonkey's probably out, but I'm wondering what this Monday.com is. I see in the chat.
Yeah, that's something we've been using in Wyoming for a little bit for our education programs. It allows you, it's actually a workflow management software, but it allows you to send automated emails based on responses, and then just kind of organize. So and I should be clear, I just took over as the Wyoming coordinator, so we haven't actually done it yet, but the intention is to run registration through Monday and then automate all of our our surveys and follow-ups with the teachers through that same software.
Great. Thanks for sharing that.
One point I think is worth restating is that over the next year, we're going to see how it goes for everyone to, ask you to include these questions and see if the standardization of the workshop evaluation items helps the process run more efficiently for most people. But I think that it's very likely we'll be fine-tuning it, if not completely overhauling it, when we're getting ready for the 2027 process.
I have a quick question for clarification. So like on the position title on my form, I have a much it's much more simplified where there's like 4 options and other. So I assume I need to build this in and add all those options on my form as well.
That's what we're asking, yes.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, I just want to throw out something. There was a couple of things Julia had said that she was like, oh, we're going to capture this on the eval. And the one that stuck in my head was the whole idea of the waiver and the photo releases.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like, we do that on the front end. And like Wyoming, you were saying how you have this registration system. We have one too. And so there's a lot of information I can actually capture on the front end when the people register. Like, I get what type of teacher they are, their county, their zip codes. I haven't asked demographic yet because I've had some pushback on that one, but there was a ton of information that was there that we already collecting in waivers. You got to get before they do the workshop. You can't really get on the evaluation on the back end. So that was something else. I didn't know, thinking of that is there a way that there's something we could remove from the evaluation because we can capture it on the front end at registration?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Yeah.
And then they're doing, the thing I've had is especially, and I'm just listening, so I couldn't see all the stuff, but I know when we had the ethnicity one, a lot of people like just checking a box when they arrived, so it wasn't linked to their name, and there was a lot of anonymity with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you couldn't say who was what.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just seems like there could be things we could remove, but I don't know how everybody else does it. So I wanted to throw that out. If there was a way we could do it maybe on the front end, it would make the survey a little shorter and more digestible, and maybe capture some of the needed things as well.
I'd be curious to hear from those of you here what your registration process is like, and do you capture that kind of demographic information? For example, category of educator, or what audiences the educator primarily teaches. Do you capture that when they register?
I do. I don't, the subjects I don't, I just get the grade levels.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be an easy field for me to add. I just have never really, because I get a lot of K8, so, and a lot of them are like, we teach everything, so I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everybody else, thoughts?
Yeah, Kim, we do something similar. We worked between both of our registration form and then our eval to make sure that we weren't asking a bunch of questions on either end, so that it was, not super heavy at the front end or the end. So yeah, we catch our demographics at the beginning beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other things too, but yeah.
A quick comment I threw in the chat. I totally relate to what everyone's saying about front-end data collection versus reporting. The only thing I know is that it depends on what questions you want to answer from the post-event reporting, because if you want to filter your survey results by demographic, then you do have to ask those questions.
Mm-hmm. Right, and a lot of the survey results from the standard set of questions, they're about workshop satisfaction or the quality of the workshop, and that that data you all collect and pretty much you keep to yourselves, at least in the world of Project Wild. We don't ask you to send that to us, at least not currently. But do you find being able to correlate that data on workshop satisfaction with those other demographic information? Is that a good thing? Is that helpful to you?
I will throw, it's helpful when somebody's not satisfied and I look and see what, for example, I have an advanced workshop that's for sixth grade and up I do, and I advertise it. When a third grade teacher signs up, even though I've told them it's sixth grade and up, sometimes I'll get those third grade teachers or second grade teachers who sign up and I can look at that information and kind of compare it. So it's helpful when there is a dissatisfaction from that standpoint to see were they actually at the right workshop.
Yeah.
With the registration process at the beginning, is that usually done online, or is that something they would fill out on paper as well? Or do you have a standard online form for that? How does that happen for folks?
In Georgia, we have a whole online system to take all our registrations. So whether it's camps, school programs, buying licenses, we have a standardized one we use.
Okay, thanks. Eventbrite, I'm seeing.
Yeah, in South Carolina, I'm new to taking on this program for this state, but we are also going to start using Eventbrite. But if I'm doing a combo workshop, like with some of the other projects, they might handle registration and we all do it differently. So like with the funding I have for Project Wild in our state, I can't take money for workshops. I can't charge for them. So I never have to worry about that. But then if I partner with other projects, they do. So we get the demographic information and all of that on the back end. And because I do that on SurveyMonkey, or when I was with PLT, it was a Microsoft Form, I think. And it was just, for me, it was nice to have all that participant information as well as the evaluations all in one place. Versus like registration, we get the very basic contact information.
Okay. One of the questions that came up today and has come up many times is when it is a combo workshop, how will that data get reported to the coordinators? How will it get reported to the national offices? So basically for Project Wild, we're asking for you to continue on with however you've been doing that. So in the case of a joint workshop, we're counting on you to collaborate with your Project WET and Project Learning Tree counterparts, those coordinators in your state, to share the data. Now, that said, Project WET is using a system where the educator puts in data and it populates a database that goes all the way to the national office. For a Project WET coordinator, it may be easier for them if they share their data to you rather than trying to get data from you to then populate their system. At least that's my take on it. Because basically the data is already getting reported to the national office there. But I think if you're in touch with your WET and PLT coordinators over around workshops, combined workshops, continue doing what you have been with sharing data. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears a little more. And that is one question that's been coming up a lot that I've been raising a lot is this the time where the national office at Project Wild starts collecting workshop satisfaction data? the evaluation of the workshop by the educator. Historically, we haven't done that since like way before my time, like the mid 80s, where state coordinators would actually mail in large boxes of evaluations to the national office when the program was new. And then, that was too much for a national office to handle. And so the national office left all of that data to the state coordinator. And instead, the national office would periodically do national evaluations where we would hire a national evaluator and they would do surveys, call people on the phone, and maybe offer some kind of incentive, but the educator would answer questions, they would do post-workshop assessments, we'd gather data that way. We haven't done that in a long time, at least 15 years, maybe was the last one, and really the bigger ones were even earlier than that. The results were consistently supporting Project Wild as, a program highly valued by educators. So for us, it was like, well, we have smaller staffs now, smaller budgets than we did back in the 80s and 90s, relative to what capacity we have now. So we're going to continue to operate where we don't collect all that data, but we also aren't doing national evaluations like we used to. And while we still hear a lot of good words about Project Wild, it would be really nice to have data that, in the words of Sarah Parker Polley, he used to be the president of OFWA and the director for the Wildlife Agency in Missouri. She said it'd be really great to have that kind of data that we could hang our hats on, and say, this is why we do this program. So I welcome the opportunity for the national office to collect educator satisfaction data, and a standard collection form is maybe a step in that direction. If we use a standard tool, like if we do all go electronic and educators are all putting their data by phone, we could do it similar to how Project WET is doing it, where all those forms eventually either are sent back to the national office where we collect it, we can go in and look at it, or the spreadsheets from those forms you send to us, including that satisfaction data. For 2026, it may be too soon to do that. That's my impression at this point. It may be too soon for us to do that if we ever do that. But what do y'all think? Like, is trying to, like, under your current system, trying to gather that kind of data around educator satisfaction and then sending it to a national office, would that be really burdensome? And would a standard tool, online survey that you could do on the phone, would that make that more doable?
I think the only way to do that you would actually get good data, get it in a timely way, would be kind of the way WET is doing it, in that you have some sort of, universal online, I don't know exactly how WET's doing it, but, and PLT has some sort of upload form, but having something where it's automatically, they do it online and then it's uploaded, and then you could easily pull that data. If you're asking, we had almost 100 workshops last year, not all of them wild, obviously, but if you're asking to take all of that and upload data, that would be very cumbersome, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about everybody else?
I don't know if I'm confused. Is the satisfaction data, and Jen's in here so she can tell me, is it just like what we have, Jen, with the like 1 through 5 scale?
Yeah, that's
So
we collect that stuff already.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I am already collecting it. I will say that, but
Yeah.
it's mostly in paper evals, so
Yeah.
that would be an absolute nightmare
Yes.
to go through them.
Yes.
You'd make me cry, Mark.
Right.
But you're saying if we were to submit it to you, like
like Jen, would it just be like giving the access database? Or
Well,
you
that's what I was wondering is could it be just another thing in the spreadsheet that we all have to fill out? Just a collective, in general, I mean, we do a Likert scale, so it's 1 through 5 for everything, and we could collect that and put it in a broader form with that
Yeah.
spreadsheet that you guys already asked for.
Well, I think if you're already collecting it digitally, I could see why that would be also easy to share, in an annual report.
Well,
And
we
if you're
don't
not,
we don't collect it digitally. We
okay,
have to enter it into a
Yeah.
database right now.
Oh, you
So
Yeah.
it's
enter
we have
yours?
it digitally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
So
sucks.
I feel like
horrible.
that's a lot to ask. Um, so, with that, knowing that, it seems like, like finding money to do a national evaluation of sorts, like we did in the old days, would be a more feasible approach. On the other hand, if in the coming years, if we get to that point where we pass some kind of threshold where using, an electronic form works for enough people, enough of the majority, a much larger majority, then maybe that would be the opportunity to start collecting that data where it just would go directly into a database that the national office could access. Now, if there are states that are collecting that satisfaction data, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate this workshop? Those kind of questions. And if you have it recorded digitally and you want to share it, I would love to see it. It wouldn't be a national assessment by any means, but it would be something that we could point to and say here's an example of what goes on at a state level with Project Wild. Okay, well, so I'm scrolling through the chat now to see if there's any more questions, but also feel free to unmute yourself and continue to ask questions if you have any.
One of the things I'm thinking about with just the collection of all this data, I mean, we served 10,000 educators last year. That was the number, which is a lot of evals. And just merging databases. It's much easier if questions are in the same order. Like if your number one aligns with our number one, then it's easier just to share that way. So I don't know if those of you who already have an online thing, if it's easy to move things around. Paper, if it's in the same order, it might be easier just to enter it in that way. But I think we're going to need some kind of bigger collection database to be able to collect all of this and house it all. So my wheels are turning. Sorry.
I think one of the key points is you should use this form, this common set of items for a workshop evaluation, and start incorporating them into your workshops, your Project Wild workshops for 2026. That's the biggest takeaway. And maybe secondly is, as we adjust the annual reporting form for Project Wild for 2026 that you'll get in December of 2026, if you include these questions in this order, you may find it easier to complete that Project Wild annual report Excel form at the end of the year. Regarding next steps, we at Alpha, we're going to make available to you those surveys, just taking these survey items and dropping them into a form, and then you can use those as you like. You can add on to them. My suggestion is if you do add on, maybe add on items at the end of the form, because it would be helpful for comparing results across workshops between like Project Wet and Project Wild, not only for us, but for you as well, between the programs, for combined workshops. rather than using the same questions but having them in different orders. Does that make sense?
Can I ask if people are doing online participant forms, how are you ensuring that you're um, getting them back? Are you making like they don't leave without a certificate until and their stuff until they prove that you did this participant form, or is it always happening after the fact? Or yeah, what is the process there?
In South Carolina, we, like Kim also does, we schedule time, like the last 15 minutes to do the evaluations. I always have a paper option for those that don't want to do it online or can't. But we do require that they show us that they complete it on their phone to get their certificate before they leave. So in our state, our teachers, if they want to get renewal credits for the Department of Education, they need that certificate. So that's a kind of our way of ensuring that they actually complete it.
I'm reminded of a conversation yesterday, in fact, and Jack was answering that same question. So in Oklahoma, they have someone who's assigned as the bouncer, and the educators show them their phone screen that says survey complete. You know, you complete the survey, and then that bouncer gives them a sticker, and that's their exit ticket.
Yeah, I will say too, like, yeah, you won't get everybody, and there is so much value still in, the paper form, but it is nice to just have this Excel file with all the everything quantitated and there and sortable.
Mhm.
That is the glory of that online form.
So if you're using that like online Microsoft form, the data, like obviously I could just pull you would download it and then you're just pasting it into a bigger one, like from your facilitators, like are they, or it's just the one form's gonna keep collecting the same, like that they would just have that same Microsoft form and all your facilitators use it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're the
And then
same
it just
form, and it will that's the only challenge with those Microsoft Forms and Google Forms is once you get results, you kind of got to pull them. Either keep getting results in a spreadsheet or you just duplicate the form and keep using it over and over again. So that is the challenge with it. And I think that's partly why our staff in Pennsylvania is resistive because they keep being like, all you got to do is duplicate it. And then you say, you get a spreadsheet, but they're very like, they really are very resistive. But we're also having challenges with not filling workshops because, since 2020, we're all used to taking about 10 seconds to sign up for something. And I don't want to call anyone and I don't even want to email them to sign up, and neither do teachers. So I don't know if I assume that's happening to you and your facilitators as well. I'd be interested to know that. If I can't sign up for something quick, I'm not doing it unless I really, really want to, like if it's about bats or something. But yeah, where they want those facilitators who are just so resistive and won't even use our online registration system are getting like 3 people. So is that happening to anyone else? Not to derail. Sorry, Mark.
No, that's okay. I'm curious though, if they're not registering through an online system, how do they register?
They make them call or they
Oh,
do an email.
Okay.
And that's always such a, I don't understand. Like
Yeah.
the glory of that online system is you ask them every question, you need to
Mhm.
know, you require those questions, and then you get all the information. Whereas the old school way of email or phone, you've
Mhm.
got to call them
Mhm.
back and they don't send you the information. So I
Mhm.
I need
Yeah.
to do, I guess, a training or something.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Anyway,
Mhm.
Yeah, and to your point about the Microsoft Forms or the Googles, like you could use the same form.
good.
It'll
Yeah.
in your download, it timestamps when it was completed. So you'll
True.
know when that form was completed, with the date. And we had discussed maybe like you're identifying it with the facilitator that taught that day, or, a specific workshop somewhere on your form. But it should timestamp it so you know how it's connected.
When I had to switch to doing online forms for during COVID, we used Microsoft Forms, and like Kathleen's saying, it does timestamp it. What it didn't have that I would have loved to have seen, and what we're hoping that our event manager system comes, that when we ever finally get that, is that when they complete that form, the system automatically sends them a certificate that they can print off. So
Mhm.
we're hoping
Mhm.
that we could get that, because that
Yeah.
will solve so many issues, because our biggest thing is that we can't get a high enough return.
Mhm.
People are eligible for grants, people need CEUs, people replace books, but we can't do any of those things if they're not in our system, if they didn't return their form. And when we
Mhm.
switched to online forms, they stopped doing it and our
Mhm.
return rate just plummeted.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm super cautious about with
Mhm.
online forms.
Courtney, it was put out to bid and contract, and it's Pay It Outdoors who's building us an event management system that's linking to our licensing system. But if without getting too
Yeah.
drama filled, it's just the mindset of the people up here is Hunter Ed's the priority because that's the law. And so Jen's program, like Project Wild and our fishing passport to fishing program has always been like, oh, things get complicated and then we just get left behind on it. So I'm a
Yeah.
little worried that that's already possibly happening again, but I don't know. So we'll see.
No, I hear you. I hear you. It's similar. I currently use Calcumi Event Manager, but the reason I have access to it is because between Hunter Ed and Voter Ed, they pay for it, which means I can basically use it for free, but it is geared towards like the questions. Yeah, it's difficult to manage. And our licensing one, Go Outdoors Virginia, is even more of a mess when it comes to trying to use it for wild events.
I do have to run, guys, for another Zoom meeting. Do you guys know what's happening in the last half hour? That's why Jen's
Oh,
here.
no,
Jen's
this
being
is
my
it. This
backup.
is it. We're ready to
Okay.
wrap it up when y'all
Okay.
are. And yeah.
Okay, cool.
So anybody else if
Oh, they
I
have it
think
going to 4:30. Okay.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought we were
and we
going
are.
back together.
Yeah. So no, after this breakout room, there is no plan for a general session again. And so from this point, anybody can leave at any time. You can go check out one of the other breakout rooms. You can stay here and discuss it with us. It's all good.
Thank you guys for your
Mm.
feedback. I was actually thinking like, how could I get this feedback? So the fact that this all happened today was
And
really helpful.
and the
Thank you
recording
guys.
for this breakout and the others will be available also.
Awesome. We'll see you guys.
I
If
also
anybody
have
does,
to, oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. If anybody does want to see, like I do have, I think at least my Growing Up Wild eval in like either a Google form. Yeah, I definitely have that one in Google form. So I mean, we could share if anybody wants to see what they look like, but I don't know how valuable it's going to be since the form this is changing.
Mhm.
I was just going to say I also have to run, but thank you guys for working on this. I think this is going to be super helpful. In fact, I'm doing a triple workshop next Friday, and we decided to use this form for it. So we didn't have to create a new one. So we appreciate that. Yay!
Oh, you're the first testers. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, and Kathleen, didn't you create an Excel sheet for this with the questions?
I created a draft Google form that has everything in it. Beth, if that would be helpful for you, or if you've already created one, that's fine too. But I just put it in to kind of see how it all fit and roll and everything. But we had a few edits during the first part of the thing, so I'm gonna have to go back and change a few things. So this is all great feedback to hear how you're doing it, how we can improve it, and make it easy for everyone.
Kathleen, would you share that? Because I'd like to see it. I use the Google Forms.
Okay, yes, definitely. I'll add the edits and send it out later.
Okay,
Happy to.
thanks.
Hi, sorry, I was in the wet call earlier. Do we have custom questions for Wild, or are we just using the baseline one that we got shared earlier, I guess? Because wet's adding in their own questions on top of it all. So I'm like, are we adding more Wild questions too? Just
Yeah.
kidding, but maybe not.
So I don't know the answer to that yet, but so far no. But that it would not surprise me if over the next couple weeks or month before January 1st, we say, yeah, we need to have this particular question in. Yeah.
There is
And
one question that, sorry, Mark. There is one question that is on our form, which I just took from somebody else's form before me, which does seem to really get some good, quick feedback and works well. I try to use quotes from the evals for like promo when I have time, and that really does work. Anyway, so the one thing is like, what is one word that you would use to describe this workshop? Or, that kind of, I don't know if that could be something that could be added. I think that's what it is. One word that would describe this workshop. I'll double check. But that one's popular, and also it doesn't ask a lot of the attendees, but it does give us some really interesting feedback. So I don't know if anybody else has that on theirs, but
you can make a very nice word cloud at the end.
Ooh, yeah. It's also good, because sometimes people, like you said, Elena, I've started doing it too. Give the eval like an hour or two before you're done and you get better responses. But sometimes people are in a hurry and they're willing to write one word and they're not willing to write anything else. They circle a bunch and then they write one word. But at least you get that one word.
Well, when with the standard set of questions, of course, you can also add on to them, items that are specific for your state too.
Yeah.
And I can see the possibility of, especially if in the future, grant funding where we need to collect specific data that maybe is not captured already on the standard set of questions that might have to be added in, that could happen. So another, I guess, point I observed, came to realize during this session today is, these online forms that we looked at, these standard set of questions, they're for the educator to fill out, but they don't have a lot of the basic data about the workshop. For example, they don't tell us how many hours the workshop is. And so there's going to be information about the workshop that you're probably going to want to collect that's beyond what the educator who's taking the workshop would report. And that might be in that information you're collecting from the facilitator who's organizing the workshop. I think this form has the date and it has the name of the facilitator, but it might not have, like the location where the training is happening. Or other kinds of information.
We asked that in ours. And again, if you have a lot of facilitators, you can have 5 workshops going on one day.
Yeah.
So I really do. And usually the staff that's organized, they just type in the top of it. And then before they make the copies, so you don't make the attendees write it out. But sometimes I have a real struggle trying to figure out what is what. When a facilitator doesn't do their due diligence and I'm just trying to get things done. I also was typing in the chat, but I do see one on Courtney. These are awesome. They're so pretty. with their fancy check on the beginning. Um, but the one question I'm not seeing on the main triple project form is the facilitator, where is it? Crap. The facilitator demonstrated respect for workshop participants. I feel like that one is really important, and I'm not seeing it any kind of, I mean, the only thing asking about the facilitator is they were organized, right?
Yeah, there was I feel like there was one question about the facilitator on the
Yeah.
one. And then the other ones were the workshop prepared me and I
Yeah.
would recommend. I tried to highlight on a separate document which ones correlated to the joint one that we were just presented to.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I
I
I
do
do
ask a
think I
lot.
don't know, how do people think about that? Like, do you think that is important about, facilitator demonstrated respect for, like, there's, you could get a little bit of hate from people if they felt, but I also want to learn that as a coordinator. I recently caught something on, they did pre-service teachers at a college, and 4 workshops in one day, 2 at a time in different rooms. And there was one wheelchair user, and the facilitator kept mistakenly not talking to them and talking to the person like helping them. Um, so I was able to very carefully go back to that facilitator and be like, can you? And they were using language that was kind of outdated. So and there were quite a few mentions on the evals from these younger, kids, college students being like, this is not okay. So I don't know, that really brought it forward for me that needs to be something we talk about. But how does everybody else feel?
Yeah, that's a similar situation happened, Carissa, and that's why that question's now on there.
Oh, okay. What about everybody else?
Yeah, Jen, I usually get follow-up too.
I was I was just gonna say, um, Vermont is just so weird and different because we're little and we don't have a lot of facilitators. I do 97% of the workshops in
Oh.
a year. And that makes me sound fancy. I don't do a lot of workshop. Like we're just not
Come on,
doing
you're
as much.
fancy. You know you are.
We're just not doing as much as all of you. We love it dearly. It's just small and we use PWild all the time, but in terms of providing workshops, there's not as many. But I do ask those questions. So I just wanted to say, Carissa, that I've learned a lot from that type of feedback, especially from
Yeah.
this.
And I mean, it also is a way to give somebody kudos too. Um, and I don't really have that on my form, and I need to add it. I don't know. I just thought that might be something that Mark and Elena and Kathleen, maybe you could suggest to PLT and WET and consider that maybe a question in that vein could be added about the facilitator. Because I have, around 250 wild facilitators if I count everybody. Not all of them are active, but yeah, if it's really, really bad, Jen, I'm going to hear about it, but sometimes not.
Well, I'll start a list of suggestions, and I imagine a lot of them will be especially considered for 2027. Regarding like satisfaction questions in general, but about facilitators, that's a good example, at least with Project Wild, of there's a question on the standard form that we're asking you to ask, but that's not data Project Wild needs back. So, Project
True.
Learning Tree and Project Wet may need that, but I don't think we feel like we do. Well,
Thanks for asking for our feedback.
Sure, yeah, and thank you all. This may be a good time to wrap it up, although I'm happy to stay if anyone wants to chat.
And I can't believe today's not Friday. Doesn't it feel like Friday? Oh, I woke up and thought it was Friday. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Bye, Cal. Thanks, everybody.
Y'all
Good to see your
later.
faces.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Jen. Bye.
I don't get to see you guys anymore.
No. I miss your
Jen,
face.
Jen,
Same.
I think we'll see you in Columbus in March.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
will invade your space in March.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
we every North American or ALPHA meeting, we ask the Project Wild coordinator if they want to use any of our time, for Project Wild. So that question will be coming for y'all. But
Elena, where are you?
Somewhere leaving DC.
Oh, you're just on the
freeway.
bus
On the
on the way
bus.
home? Okay. I thought maybe you're on a cool trip or something, but just going home. All right. Well, thanks. I just wanted to jump on because she's had this other call and she was like, I need your help. So, all right. Well, it's good to see you guys.
Yeah,
See you
Thanks,
later.
Jen.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.